Welcome to episode 9, Bhakti Girl podcast, Being Vegetarian in the Snows of the Himalayas. Some years ago, my husband Jamunadas travelled to India to professionally take photographs. He landed in Delhi and was due to fly out the next day to Ladakh. That evening he purchased tins of curd, tins of peas, and a large bag of cashews and apricots, because even though Ladakh is a Buddhist country, he was unsure if there were vegetarian restaurants there. He set out the next day with camera equipment and his stash of food, and flew in a small, uncomfortable plane over the Himalayas and landed in Leh, the capital of Ladakh. When he went to a restaurant near the hotel, there was only rice on the menu that he could order. Everything else was meat. He gave a tin of curd, a tin of peas, and some cashews and apricots to the waitress and asked for the cook to fry them up with the rice. While the food was being prepared, the only other white person in the restaurant was a very well-spoken English gentleman who approached and asked Jamunadas if he was a vegetarian. When discovering that he was, the Englishman revealed that he too was a vegetarian, but it was very difficult to find vegetarian food and meals there. My husband invited him to share his meal. Jamunadas asked what he was doing in Leh and learnt that the gentleman was an engineer who designed bridges, etc., and oversaw their construction in Leh and other parts of Ladakh. He also explained that he was a Buddhist, which is why he was vegetarian. Jamunadas asked why the Buddhist population of Ladakh were not, generally speaking, vegetarians. In fact, they were quite the opposite. Some years previously, we had lived in Malaysia, where a percentage of the Chinese people were Buddhist, and there we acquired a book about the principles of Buddhism, including vegetarianism. It was described that in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, a monk asked Buddha, "When we beg and are given vegetables mixed with meat, can we eat this food? How can we clean the food?" Buddha replied, "One should clean it with water and separate the vegetables from the meat. Then one can eat just the vegetables." The Buddhist Englishman replied that he too had read that sutra. He had been told that there is a special dispensation for Buddhists that if there was nothing to eat due to famine, etc., only meat such as yaks or goats, then they could eat meat rather than die of starvation. But he knew this wasn't the situation for most meat-eating Buddhists. They were not experiencing famine or starvation. So he went to visit the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala in India. When there, he was able to ask the Dalai Lama why he and many monks ate meat. The Dalai Lama giggled and spoke what seemed to be word gymnastics. He said that Buddhism doesn't prohibit meat eating, but it does say that animals should not be killed for food. Tibetan Buddhists could buy meat, but they couldn't order it, since that might lead to an animal being killed for them specifically, and thus they would be karmically implicated. This is negated in the Buddhist scriptures, such as the Lankavatara Sutra, where Buddha says, if there was no one eating meat, then no killing would happen. So eating meat and killing beings are of the same sin. In fact, the Dalai Lama and all the monks in that monastery ate meat daily, even though they had resources for acquiring vegetarian foods. The Englishman stopped following the Dalai Lama stayed a vegetarian and continued his practices of praying to Lord Buddha. When the fried rice with all the curd and peas, etc. arrived, Jamunadas offered the food to Krishna, and then the two men ate together. Namaste.